The unforgettable heroes of tank warfare. Sergeant First Class Melissa Bradley served as the first female tank commander in Iraq. Captain Monica Lynn Brown participated in critical operations with armored units in Afghanistan. And dozens of female soldiers made history by operating 70-ton war machines at the same level as men. Have you ever encountered an unexpected hero in a situation that seemed impossible? Share that moment in the comments. If you believe these incredible female warrior stories deserve to reach more people, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. This story is dedicated to them and all our heroic female soldiers. Second Colonel Henderson laughed. Women can't operate 70-ton tanks. 45 minutes later, that female tank commander had destroyed 20 enemy tanks single-handedly. The Gulf War's greatest tank victory was won by a woman. Saudi Arabia, Gulf War. February 24, 1991, 04:30 hours. The pre-dawn briefing tent buzzed with nervous energy. 42 tank crew members sat on metal folding chairs, their faces illuminated by the harsh fluorescent lights. Maps of Iraq covered every available wall surface, marked with red enemy positions and blue friendly forces. Lieutenant Maria Iron Wolf Rodriguez sat in the back corner, the only woman among the sea of male faces. For 6 months, she had been assigned to equipment maintenance and logistics coordination, military bureaucracy's way of keeping her away from actual combat. Colonel Henderson stood at the front, pointing to the massive tactical map with his laser pointer. Gentlemen, this is it. Operation Desert Storm ground offensive begins in 2 hours. Intelligence indicates the Iraqi Republican Guard has positioned their elite armored divisions here, here, and here. Red markers indicated enemy tank positions scattered across the Kuwaiti desert. Each red dot represented multiple T-72 Soviet-built tanks, BMP armored personnel carriers, and artillery pieces. Our mission is to break through their defensive lines and advance to Kuwait City. We expect heavy resistance. Henderson's voice carried the weight of a career soldier who had seen real combat in Vietnam and understood what his men were facing. Staff Sergeant Mike Hammer Johnson, a 10-year tank veteran, raised his hand. Sir, what's our tank strength for the assault? 12 M1 Abrams tanks, fully loaded with APFSDS armor-piercing rounds and heat anti-armor missiles. Each tank crew has been training for this moment for 8 months. Maria shifted in her seat. 8 months of watching other crews prepare for combat while she organized supply inventories and filed maintenance reports. 8 months of proving her expertise in tank systems only to be excluded from actual operations. Captain Robert Destroyer Williams, Henderson's second-in-command, stood up. Sir, what about Rodriguez? She's been maintaining our tanks better than anyone. Shouldn't she be assigned to actual combat duty? The tent fell silent. 41 male soldiers turned to look at the lone woman in the back. Some faces showed curiosity, others skepticism. A few displayed outright hostility. Henderson's jaw tightened. Captain Williams, Lieutenant Rodriguez is an excellent logistician. But combat operations require different skills. Physical strength, mental toughness under extreme pressure, the ability to make life-or-death decisions in split seconds. This isn't discrimination. It's operational reality. 06:15 hours. First wave attack. The ground offensive began with a massive artillery barrage. For 30 minutes, coalition forces pounded Iraqi positions with howitzers, rocket artillery, and airstrikes. The desert floor shook with continuous explosions that could be felt 10 miles away. Maria sat in her assigned position at the communications center, monitoring radio traffic and updating supply status boards. Through her headset, she could hear the real-time reports from advancing tank crews. Steel Thunder 1, this is Steel Thunder 6. We have visual contact with enemy armor, range 3,000 meters. Steel Thunder 6, Steel Thunder 3. I count at least 15 T-72s in defensive positions, dug in with earthwork protection. All Steel Thunder units, this is Thunder Base. Engage at will. Good hunting. The radio chatter continued for 20 minutes with reports of successful engagements, enemy tanks destroyed, and steady coalition advances. Maria plotted friendly positions on her tactical map, watching the blue markers move deeper into Iraqi territory. Then everything changed. 06:45 hours, ambush. Mayday, Mayday, Steel Thunder 1 is hit. We're taking heavy fire from concealed positions. Maria's blood turned cold as she heard Sergeant Johnson's panicked voice. Johnson was one of the few male soldiers who had treated her with genuine respect during their months of preparation. Steel Thunder 6, this is Steel Thunder 2. We've got enemy tanks everywhere. They were hiding in prepared positions we didn't see on reconnaissance. The radio traffic became chaotic as multiple tank crews reported contact with much larger enemy forces than intelligence had predicted. Iraqi commanders had set a massive trap, allowing coalition forces to advance into a carefully prepared killing zone before revealing their true strength. Steel Thunder Base, Steel Thunder 6. We're surrounded. I count at least 30 enemy vehicles. Repeat, 30 enemy armor. Colonel Henderson burst into the communication center, his face pale with shock. Rodriguez, what's the tactical picture? Maria had been tracking every radio transmission on her map. The situation was catastrophic. Sir, Alpha Company walked into a prepared ambush. They're surrounded by what appears to be an entire Iraqi armored brigade, at least 50 tanks and armored vehicles. Jesus Christ, Henderson muttered. That's 3 times what intelligence predicted. 07:15 hours. Disaster. The radio reports grew progressively worse. Steel Thunder 2 is hit. We're bailing out. Steel Thunder 4, my gunner's wounded. We're combat ineffective. Thunder Base, this is Steel Thunder 6. We've lost 6 tanks. Repeat, 6 tanks destroyed. We need immediate support or we're all dead. Henderson grabbed the radio microphone. Steel Thunder 6, Thunder Base. Reinforcements are 30 minutes out. Can you hold position? Negative, Thunder Base. We're down to 4 operational tanks against an entire enemy brigade. We need help now. Maria watched the tactical display as blue friendly markers disappeared one by one. 8 American tank crews. Men she had worked with, shared meals with, trained alongside for months, were being systematically destroyed. Henderson turned to his remaining personnel. In the communications center stood 12 soldiers, mechanics, communications specialists, supply officers, and Maria. The actual combat tank crews were either dead, wounded, or trapped in the killing zone. People, we have 4 M1 Abrams tanks here at base camp. I need volunteer crews to mount an immediate rescue mission. Silence filled the room. The men looked at each other nervously. They were support personnel, not combat veterans. Loading ammunition and performing maintenance was completely different from engaging enemy armor in actual battle. Finally, Specialist Rick Patterson, a 19-year-old mechanic, raised his hand. Sir, I can drive a tank, but I've never fired the main gun in combat. I'll take gunner position, volunteered Corporal Dave Miller, a communications expert. I've done simulator training. 2 more volunteers stepped forward, both young soldiers with minimal combat experience but enough technical training to operate tank systems. Henderson looked around the room. I need 1 more crew. We have 4 tanks but only 3 crews. Maria stepped forward. Sir, I volunteer. The room erupted in nervous laughter and whispered comments. She's never been in real combat. Maintaining tanks isn't the same as fighting with them. What happens when bullets start flying? Henderson stared at Maria for a long moment. Outside, artillery shells could be heard impacting in the distance, the sounds of his trapped soldiers fighting for their lives. Rodriguez, Henderson said slowly, this isn't a training exercise. This is life or death against an entire enemy armored brigade. Are you absolutely certain you can handle combat operations? Sir, I've spent 8 months learning every system on those M1 tanks. I know their capabilities better than anyone in this tent. I can hit targets at ranges that others can't even attempt. Henderson looked at his watch. His trapped soldiers had maybe 15 minutes before being completely overrun. He had 3 inexperienced volunteer crews and 1 female tank commander who had never seen combat. Rodriguez, if you freeze up out there, good men die. If you can't handle the pressure, American soldiers become casualties. Are you prepared for that responsibility? Maria's voice was steady as steel. Sir, I'm ready. Give me a crew and a tank. I'll bring our people home. Henderson made the most difficult decision of his military career. Rodriguez, take tank number 4. Patterson, you're her driver. Miller, you're on the main gun. Rodriguez, you're tank commander. As the crews raced to their vehicles, Maria climbed into the commander's cupola of M1 Abrams tank, Iron Wolf. The same tank she had maintained meticulously for 8 months. Every gauge, every system, every mechanical component was familiar to her. Patterson, start her up. Miller, load APFSDS armor-piercing rounds. We're going hunting. The massive 1,500 horsepower turbine engine roared to life. Through her commander's periscope, Maria could see the other 3 tanks forming up in combat formation. Henderson's voice crackled through the radio. All Thunder units, this is Thunder Base. Rescue mission is authorized. Bring our people home. 08 UDLR's hours. Into hell. The 4 rescue tanks crossed the sand dunes at maximum speed, their tracks throwing up massive dust clouds. Through her thermal imaging system, Maria could see the battlefield ahead. Burning American tanks, Iraqi vehicles in prepared positions, and ongoing combat between the trapped survivors and overwhelming enemy forces. Iron Wolf, this is Thunder 6, came the desperate voice of the trapped battalion commander. We're down to 2 operational tanks. Enemy armor is closing in from 3 sides. Thunder 6, Iron Wolf. Rescue force is 2 minutes from your position. Mark your location with smoke. Yellow smoke grenades popped in the distance, identifying the last surviving American positions. Around the smoke, Maria's thermal sights detected dozens of enemy vehicles. T-72 tanks, BMP fighting vehicles, and support units that had been systematically destroying the trapped American force. Holy, whispered Miller, her gunner, as he saw the enemy numbers through his own sights. There must be 40 of them. Miller language, Maria said calmly. Patterson, take us hull down behind that ridgeline. We're going to engage from concealment. Through her commander's scope, Maria began identifying priority targets. The enemy vehicles were spread across 2 miles of desert, but they were focused on the trapped Americans and hadn't noticed the approaching rescue force. Her first target was an Iraqi command tank, identifiable by its additional radio antennas and the way other vehicles were positioned around it. Range, 2,800 meters. An extremely long shot by any standard. Miller, target tank, bearing 045, range 2,800. I can barely see it at that range, Miller replied nervously. Trust me, load APFSDS. When I give the command, fire immediately. Maria made rapid calculations in her head. Wind speed, range, target movement, ammunition characteristics. The mathematics her mother had taught her, combined with the mechanical knowledge from her father's ranch, created an almost supernatural ability to predict exactly where her rounds would impact. Fire! The 120mm main gun erupted with tremendous force. The depleted uranium round streaked across the desert at over 5,000 feet per second. 3 seconds later, the Iraqi command tank exploded in a massive fireball visible from miles away. Jesus Christ, Miller shouted. Direct hit. The battlefield radio traffic immediately changed as Iraqi commanders realized they were under attack from an unexpected direction. Command tank destroyed. American reinforcements attacking from the west. All units, engage new threat. But Maria was already acquiring her second target. What followed was the most devastating display of tank gunnery in modern warfare history. Maria's combination of mathematical precision, mechanical knowledge, and calm under pressure created shooting accuracy that seemed almost supernatural. Target 2. Iraqi T-72 at 2,400 meters, moving at 30 mph across her front. Maria calculated lead time and fired. Direct hit, tank destroyed. Target 3. Enemy BMP hiding behind sand berms. Maria put her round through a gap between the berms that was less than 3 feet wide. The vehicle exploded. Target 4. 2 Iraqi tanks positioned side by side. Maria's round struck the ammunition storage of the first tank, creating a secondary explosion that destroyed both vehicles simultaneously. Each shot was perfect. Each calculation was flawless. Enemy vehicles that had seemed invisible to other gunners were clearly visible to Maria's trained eye. "Iron Wolf, this is Thunder 6, came the amazed voice of the trapped commander. "I don't know who's shooting, but you're hitting everything you aim at. Keep it up." The other rescue tanks, inspired by Maria's example, began engaging targets with renewed confidence. But it was clear that Maria's tank was carrying the battle. The psychological impact of Maria's shooting was devastating to Iraqi morale. Their commanders had expected to complete the destruction of the trapped Americans, but instead found themselves being systematically eliminated by shooting accuracy they couldn't comprehend or counter. "Retreat! Retreat!" came Iraqi radio transmissions that American intelligence interceptors could understand. "Unknown American tank destroying everything. Fall back to secondary positions." Of the original 50-plus Iraqi vehicles, Maria's tank alone had accounted for 12 confirmed kills. The other rescue tanks had destroyed 8 more. Faced with the collapse of their ambush and the arrival of what they thought was a much larger American force, the remaining Iraqi units began withdrawing. Mission complete. The rescue was successful. All surviving American personnel were evacuated safely. The Iraqi ambush had been broken, and what should have been a catastrophic defeat had been turned into a tactical victory. As Maria climbed down from her tank, she was surrounded by the soldiers she had helped save. These were men who had initially questioned whether a woman belonged in tank combat. Now they looked at her with genuine respect and admiration. "Rodriguez," said Thunder 6, the battalion commander she had rescued. "I've been fighting armor for 15 years. What you did out there, that was the most incredible tank gunnery I've ever witnessed." Colonel Henderson approached, his earlier skepticism completely replaced by professional recognition. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, I owe you an apology, and I owe you a recommendation for the Silver Star Medal." 3 months later, Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez received the Silver Star for exceptional valor in combat. But more importantly, her tactical innovations in long-range tank gunnery were incorporated into Army training doctrine and taught at armor schools worldwide. And never again did anyone suggest that women couldn't operate main battle tanks, because Maria Rodriguez had proven that excellence in combat has nothing to do with gender. It has everything to do with skill, training, and courage under fire. The Iron Wolf became a legend that inspired female tankers for generations to come.